12:05 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. And it's Wednesday. That means it must be time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. And in fact, according to the clock on the wall, it sure is. Kerry Fink is with us. Kerry, of course, as you know, is the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard and also the host of our show. Kerry, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John Harper. This is a big day for us, as you know. We're getting closer and closer to October 29th, which is probably, maybe in the Helping Seniors world of things, our biggest day of the year, because that's the day of the Helping Seniors Car Raffle grand drawing. And I'm not understating this when I say that what you give and help us do in the Helping Seniors grand drawing, the car raffle, now this is the 6th annual one of these, literally keeps our little charity moving forward and helping.
Kerry, there has been a lot of buzz in the community about this upcoming car raffle, perhaps more than any of the other 5 years. I mean, people are really talking about this. They're anxious to go to the American Muscle Car Museum and to see the cars there. And, of course, the possibility of winning one of those 4 great cars.
You know, it's what you're saying, John, is exactly right. And I want to get our entire team, I want you guys all in on the conversation, because we're going to talk actually about something that's coming up this evening connected to that. So let me go ahead and real quickly also bring in the conversation Traci Graf, who is registered nurse and owner of Avid Home Care Services. I said it right. Yeah. Yay! And then also we have Cristin Taylor, who is with Coastal Claims and who represents Team Kia. But we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. So on behalf of Joe Steckler and our entire team, Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director, Marty Upton, our business manager, and the entire team, welcome to the show. But, you know, John, you said it exactly right. It seems like over the years, the event at Mark Pylock's Muscle Car Museum has just gotten bigger and bigger, and it's almost like at first it was all about who wins the car, which is always the big fun part of it, but it's also become, it's like just a night at the museum. It's become like the biggest automotive event that you see.
And probably, Kerry, the biggest event of the year in Brevard County.
Yeah. Now, Tracy, were you there last year?
No, I wasn't. Yeah.
This is going to be a first for you, right?
Yeah.
Have you been in the museum before?
No, and my husband wants to go badly.
For something great.
Yep. Cristin, as part of Team Kia, got a sneak preview, and because she was doing some promotional announcements for talking up, the car raffle. That was your first time in the museum. Talk about that.
I was so impressed with the car museum. I have sold many tickets with just people like, you've got to come see this. I did not know it was a private venue. So when I got there that day and saw how amazing it is, the beautiful cars, the luscious space he has to showcase all of them, you got to go. Even if you don't win a car, you just got to be there to see something that's once in a lifetime opportunity.
And I don't think, John, that you even have to be like a car aficionado. You don't have to know, which nut or bolt they put on this particular year model. You just walk in there and you're just like floored, just like, is this even possible?
But it's fun to reminisce also as you walk down the aisles. That was the first type of car that I owned.
Yeah.
This was my father's car, things like that, to just kind of reminisce. And they're just great, wonderful cars in pristine condition there.
Yeah.
I think Mark is running out of room. He's going to need more.
We were in there filming, and Cristin, you'll remember this story. If you've been there before, there's like 2 areas. They call it the front room, and then they have, I just call it, it's like 2 aircraft hangars. I don't know how else you describe it, full of cars. But in the front room, he has a collection of Ford GTs. It's like the only full collection in the entire country. And so last year when we were in there filming just some promos in the front room, I was asking Andrew Mackey, who is he's the events coordinator over there. I said, what is just the front room worth? And he said, it's like $6 or $7 million worth of cars. Well, we go in there this year to film. And so I said, well, I assume it's gone up, car values and all that. He said, there's a car there in the center. And I couldn't tell you the story behind it. You'll have to ask him when you get there. He goes, all I know is Mark traded 5 of his cars and $5 million cash for the car that's sitting in the center of that showroom.
Really?
Yeah, so you're going to want to check this out. If you weren't there that's what I say, even if you were there last year, Mark keeps adding cars. We were all commenting, those of us that had been there the prior year, we joke because of the whole Team Dodge versus Team Chevy rivalry thing, which now has become Team Kia and Team Mazda too, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So he's got a Chevrolet row. He's got all these Camaros down one side. So Ashley and her group all think that's great. I'm talking about Ashley Caswell, Hibiscus Court. She's all about Team Chevy. And then there's a Dodge row. He's got all these great Chargers, Challengers, everything like that. And Jennifer Helen with Seniors Helping Seniors, she's like all about the Dodge. And so we're trying to get down Dodge Row to film in Dodge Row. And we can't. We had to like squeeze between all the cars because now he's got cars in the aisles. And so Ed Diedick, who's the operations manager, he said he's now got 398 cars. And that was probably a month ago or so when we were filming. Wow. He's probably gotten more by now.
Well over 400.
Yeah, it's incredible. Mark Pylock has been such a generous benefactor to the Helping Seniors world. He does this. He's a real man of the community who's helped so many charities because that is the only way you can get into the museum is when there is a charitable event or something community oriented that Mark allows to be there. And we've been so fortunate. Our president and founder, Joe Steckler, and Ed Fleece, who's our treasurer, they've had the privilege of meeting Mark while he was constructing the museum. And Mark said, I'd like for you guys to come out and have your grand drawing here. And he's been a great help to us every year because each year he's allowed us to come back and do this one more time. So we don't take it for granted, but we are really looking forward to October 29th.
It'll be a great night.
Now, so let's talk just for a minute about the cars in the raffle because that is the other objective because the whole thing that happens in this, and I was talking with Joe, we recorded a Helping Seniors update that we're going to release here this week about where Joe was talking about the car raffle. And he said, Kerry, the first time I started working with AJ Hires on the car raffle, he goes, was in 1996. He goes, imagine that. It was the previous century. And he said at that time he was trying to come up with a way to raise money because he was building the Joe's Clubs, for the Brevard Alzheimer's. And then, as you know, Joe retired from that and he started Helping Seniors in 2011. So for now, 11 or 12 years, whatever it's been, we've been serving the community with the Senior Information Helpline. And we vitally depend on what happens with the car raffle to make it go. So you have to get tickets for it, but let's talk about the cars. So there's 4 cars that you pick from in the raffle. We mentioned the Chevrolet Camaro, which is always a fan favorite. People seem to love the muscle cars. The drawing is at the American Muscle Car Museum, so you would think the Camaro would be well represented. And we gave away one of those, not last year, but the year before. The gentleman from Indy Atlantic, his name is Troy Darling, and he was the winner. And he said, I want the Camaro. And John, if you remember, he said, I want the convertible Camaro. So, our deal is we're the charity. We give away the base model car. That's what the rules state. So you get the base model, and you can trade up to your heart's content if that's what you want to do. So he wanted a convertible Camaro, and that's what he drove off in. So that was wonderful. So that's one of the cars. And as we were joking about, Ashley Caswell with Hibiscus Court quickly picked sides years ago and said, I'm all about the Camaro. So me and my team, we're gonna always advocate that people should get tickets, and if they win, they should get the Camaro. Well, that challenge was answered by none other than Jennifer Barton, I should say, with Seniors Helping Seniors, and she said, I'm all about the Dodge. And I think, John, we've had this conversation. You like the Dodge, right?
Yeah, the Dodge is great. That's, I think, my favorite out of the 4.
Yeah, and the Challenger has been out to a lot of events this year. It's always another fan favorite. And so it got to the point where the rivalry wouldn't cease. So we actually started a thing 3 years ago called Dodge versus Chevy Challenge. And Mark Pylock, if you've ever been out to his museum, he's got like a test track out there. So against probably everybody's better judgment, we turned over keys and everybody got to run these cars around the track. So Hal, our camera guy, he sticks GoPros in there, and it's just funny when they hit the gas just to laugh at because it's like a kid with a new toy. You're just like giggling the whole time. So Dodge versus Chevy Challenge.com. You can go to it and you can see the 2020 edition. Nobody could agree on which car was better, so we had to do a rematch last year. That was the 2021 edition. We did that, and of course, nobody could agree which car was the winner. So we had to come back and we filmed the 2022 edition. So we're getting ready to release that. So that's coming out very soon. And this time they brought out drones. It's like they've got footage from like a million different angles. It's going to be so much fun. But this year, too, two of the people that help us a lot in the Helping Seniors world, one is Vicki Moore, who's an independent licensed insurance agent. She drives a Mazda herself, and she said, I think the Mazda is a bit underserved, and the Mazda Miata convertible is a choice that you can pick from. All these cars come from AJ Hires dealerships, so they come, with warranty forever and all that stuff, and they're just great cars. And Vicki said, I think somebody should be taking up the cause of the Mazda because we need to give away one of those. And ironically, in all the years we've done this is the 6th year, we've not yet given away the Mazda. So let's see what happens this year. And then Cristin Taylor, who's in the studio with us, she said, I kind of have a surf background. I like all this stuff. The car is cool. I can put surfboard, paddleboard, all this stuff. And you said I can throw picnic supplies in there. Talk about why you said I'll be Team Kia. And we're talking about the Kia Sportage.
Yeah, well, I could understand when if you won something, you'd want to go for the most obscure thing in the room, right? It's something that you probably wouldn't be very practical, but in everyday life, you want to get into a very comfortable, reliable, beautiful car that gets you back and forth and it fits all your needs. So that Kia just really drew me in because that's kind of the style I like. That's the dependability, and Kia's really come up around its popularity and its quality. So why not?
Well, and you're not alone in that thinking, because last year, I forgot to mention on the Dodge, our 2019 winner, Karen Hoodless, she's local. She chose the Dodge, and has that Dodge. It looks better than it's probably going up in value now, right? Because this is the last year they're making the Dodge Challenger. So she's been kind enough to bring it out to the events. In fact, she brought it out when we were filming Dodge versus Chevy Challenge. So she got out there on the test track with that too, and that was a lot of fun. But I was going to say, you're not alone in liking the Kia Sportage, because David Odahowski, who was our winner last year, he's also local. Granted, he's from more the Orlando area, but he said, that's what I want. I want the Kia Sportage. And so it's really going to be fun to see who wins and which car they pick. And so, Tracy, you having heard about all these different cars, do you have a horse in this race? Which one?
I would always pick the SUV. I would always pick the Sportage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once you drive an SUV, it's enough higher that from a regular car. Recently I went up to Daytona and rented a car for a couple days, and it was like a nice Camry, I think, or Altima, but oh my goodness, it seems so low to me after getting in and out of a Ford Edge all the time that I could never go back to. Like you said, the other ones might look nice. It's sitting in my driveway, but getting in and out of them is a whole nother situation, thing, right? So
exit and entry.
I'd have to go for the SUV.
So with that in mind, you will pick the car when we pull your winning ticket Saturday, October 29th at the American Muscle Car Museum. You will decide which car. You'll have that same choice that Troy Darling of Indy Atlantic, or Karen Hoodless of Melbourne, or David Odahowski of Orlando had. You'll get to decide which car you want to pick. Your ticket is also admit one to the museum, as we were talking about. And probably, at least from our perspective, the most important thing that happens is you are supporting the work of Helping Seniors. Nancy Deerdorf, who is our operations director, mans the phones, and we had a record month last month, which is, I wouldn't say that's actually good. Okay, I mean, it's good that we're taking a lot of calls, but it's bad because it means the things are getting more where seniors are needing more help. She took 550 calls last month alone. That is that's
impressive.
That's a third more, I think, than our previous high month. Sadly, many of the calls are about housing, because that's become a real challenge. And if you follow Joe Steckler, our president and founder, he writes a lot of articles in Hometown News where he's talking about this very challenge, trying to make sure everybody's waking up and understanding what's happening with that. But 550 calls. And for seniors and their families, this is a real lifeline because a lot of times she has a saying, she goes, how do you know what you don't know? And so you get confronted with something because aging is an on-the-job process, and you have to make these calls a lot of times on the fly. And second part of the show, we're really going to talk about what you guys do and why it's important to call somebody that has expertise. I'm talking about like Traci Graf, registered nurse, who's the owner of Avid Home Care Services, Cristin Taylor with Coastal Claims, because that is so important to get the right help at the right time. And that's what Nancy is trying to do. She's trying to network the callers with getting them the right help for what they need. But to be in the fun of the Helping Seniors Raffle, which is also, ironically, how we keep this all going, you got to get a ticket. There's lots of different ways to get a ticket. You could pop by any Boniface Hires dealership. They got them waiting for you there. You can call Nancy at 321-473-7770. I'll say that number again, so you got a moment to grab a pencil and something to jot this down on. The number is 321-473-7770. And if you're online, you can go to helpingseniorscarraffle.com, and I'll bet Tracy and Cristin also have tickets for you, right?
Just give me a call.
I don't have any yet.
Oh, well, we will.
Yeah, I've had them the other years. I don't have any.
We
yet.
will fix that as you leave the studios today.
Sounds
we
good.
will fix that, and
Okay.
so you can call Tracy. She'll have your tickets. You can call Cristin. She'll have your tickets. But let's talk before we get to the mid-show break. We do want to talk about the fun that we're going to have later this afternoon, and you're invited. So we are doing. This is the first time we've actually tried this, but we're excited about how it's going to turn out. We thought that there's so many businesses who work in Brevard County and provide great services to seniors, but there's also a lot of businesses in Brevard County who provide great services, but they're not necessarily targeting seniors. And so one of the things that's good happens if you've ever been around a chamber of commerce or any kind of things, they love to do mixers where business people get together, get to know each other, swap business cards. Hey, I might have a lead for you. I might know somebody who could use what you guys do. And we thought, we've never done that in connection with the Helping Seniors Car Raffle. So why don't we ask Mr. AJ Hires, who has just recently opened up this fantastic, it's one of the state-of-the-art, in fact, what we were talking about is looks more like, the lobby of a Miami hotel, than what you expect from a normal car dealer. It's absolutely luxurious. It's right there on US 192, just east of 95, right there in West New Haven, and it is a beautiful facility. And so we said, would you mind if we put together a business after hours event there? And AJ was like, well, of course, if it's going to help you guys keep the work going, let's do this. So we partnered up with our friends at Hibiscus Court Assisted Living and Memory Care, who are famous for a thing they do. Typically, it's every third Wednesday of the month, called Wind Down Wednesday. And it's just an opportunity for business professionals to come together, enjoy a beverage after work, and everything's provided, by the way. The beer, wine, sodas, water, whatever, is all there available at no charge. And it's just a chance for people to get together, maybe share some business cards, share some leads and things like that. And we thought, well, maybe if they would be kind enough to let us host their Wind Down Wednesday there at the Kia dealership, we can have a lot of fun with this. So that's what's happening. The regular Wind Down Wednesday, which is attended by a lot of people in the BAWS group, which is the Brevard Association of Human Services. I think if I have that correct, the Space Coast FSGA, Florida State Guardianship Association people, a lot of them are going to be there. The Golden Providers people are going to be there. Helping Seniors people are going to be there. So there's going to be a lot of networking going on. And so we thought, let's do a couple of things. Let's bring out all the cars. We've just been talking about the cars, right? So everybody can take a close-up look and say, when I win October 29th, this is the car I want to win. We're going to actually have a photographer out there, a professional photographer by the name of Trilby Soldana, and she does professional headshots. So if you're looking for getting a good photo, maybe for your LinkedIn page, maybe a brochure, maybe you want to do a business card that has your photo on it, but you're not really happy with the other photos, she will take one. And it's for donation. I think they're saying a suggested donation of $35 or something like that. But anyway, it's for donation. And then that money comes to help the world of helping seniors, and you will have a great photo by a professional photographer who does amazing work. So you'll be impressed when you see some of her work. Trilby Saldana is kindly volunteering her services to come out and help us this afternoon. They've also stirred up a silent auction, and I think you're bringing something, Cristin.
Yeah, the whole event sounds amazing, and now I'm really going to have to step up my wardrobe game if I'm going to get my photo taken tonight. That's exciting. Yeah, I do have something to raffle off, as I'm sure there are many things to raffle off. That's just, I'm so thankful that Helping Seniors has created this event for me to meet other people who are supporting Helping Seniors, to network with within that group, and I'm just like weirdly excited about this event.
It's gonna be fun. So it's 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
4 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's this afternoon. So we are talking Wednesday, September 21st at Boniface Hires Kia. We are asking if you can to please RSVP because we want to make sure we have enough room for everybody that's expected. So at this point, you can go to Helping Seniors of Brevard.org. There's a spot you can RSVP, or you could call Nancy and say, hey, three of us from the office are coming out, or whatever you want to do. 321-473-7770. The event is free, but it is a fundraiser, so do bring some money and help us out. Buy your tickets, get your headshot, bid on the silent auction. It's going to be a fun evening, and we're looking forward to that. So that's what's going on. The event is called Konnect Kia, and it's K on each side, because we thought we would be clever, but that doesn't work as well on radio as it does in print. But it's Konnect Kia, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. today at Boniface Hires Kia, 3890 West New Haven Avenue, which is US 192. Again, it's just east of I-95. So wherever you are in Brevard County, it's not hard to get there. So we're actually going to head over from the radio show, and we're going to be setting up this afternoon, so we're ready for the crowds when they arrive at 4. So it's going to be fun. So with that, again, we've talked a lot about the Helping Seniors Car Raffle. Got to get your tickets, helpingseniors.carraffle.com. We're going to come back on the other side of the break and really start to talk a little bit more seriously about the work of Helping Seniors, which is, we've had this theme all year long. We've called it Getting Your Ducks in a Row, which means planning for your aging plan. But the second part of this is, let's not try this on your own. Let's get expert help. So we'll be back with Traci Graf from Avid Home Care Services, Cristin Taylor from Coastal Claims, and we'll find out more about how they can help you on Helping Seniors Radio.
12:33 in the afternoon as we continue on this Wednesday with Helping Seniors of Brevard. Let's get back to more of the program. Here is your host of the program and the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Hey, thanks, John Harper, and welcome back to the second half of the Helping Seniors radio show right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF Radio, and hello to those of you listening online, WEJF.net, and those who catch this later as a podcast on everything from Apple, iTunes to Google Podcasts, you name it, will be there. So Helping Seniors is all about getting information into the community, and again, we were talking in the first half of the radio program about the fact that we're going to be out Konnect Kia, which is the event that we're doing connected to the raffle on this afternoon. So we're going to be out there 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Konnect Kia right there at Boniface Hires Kia. So it's a free event, but we look forward to seeing you out there. It's all supporting the raffle October 29th at the American Muscle Car Museum. So as we keep rolling forward, I want to reintroduce our guest today. It is none other than Traci Graf, who is an RN with Avid Home Care Services. I said it right.
Yes, you did.
Okay. And also Cristin Taylor with Coastal Claims, who is in the studio with us. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to hearing more about Tracy and explaining a little bit about what Coastal Claims does.
Yeah, because we were talking during the first half of the show that one of the missions of Helping Seniors, we're here to educate, inform, and connect seniors to resources. And one of the things that really does mean is that we try to help you develop your own aging plan. So we try to what an aging plan is. We understand hurricane plan in Florida. It does not mean we want a hurricane. It just means we want to be prepared and know how we would respond if somebody said this thing is bearing down on us. And that's the same kind of thing that you do with an aging plan. Joe Steckler has talked about it for years, of understanding some of the things we might hit along the way. So when that's the case, we call it getting your ducks in a row. So that's actually been the theme of our nonprofit this year. When you get your Senior Scene magazine each month and look for the Helping Seniors section in the center, that's what we're always talking about, getting your ducks in a row. So we've covered a lot of different topics. We've covered everything from legal to financial to if you're going to stay at home safely, to whether you want to choose a different kind of place to live, maybe assisted living, maybe you want to downsize. We've talked about Medicare. We've talked about, in fact, next month we're going to be talking about transportation, oddly enough, since it's our car raffle month. But let's talk about if you're trying to stay safely as a senior, you really need the help of somebody, because that's the corollary. Each time we've talked with experts in each of these areas, we keep learning. And I think it's going to be our theme next year is going to be, don't try this on your own. There's so much good help out there. Traci Graf, you're a registered nurse yourself. You personally supervise and meet with families as they come into the family of care for you. Talk a little bit about how you view that and why it's so important for seniors to get help and not really try this on their own.
So I know, being in this role, that I constantly hear, that people can't afford this kind of care. And I understand. A lot of these agencies have 4, 6, 8 hour minimums. And if you don't really need 4, 6, 8, or 12 hours of care,
right?
Think about someone sitting in your house with you for 4 hours that you don't know,
right.
You may not really like. They've done what they're going to do, so they're either going. Some people will work. It depends on the person too. Some employees will look for something to do no matter how long they're there. But I find that the way we approach the whole situation is more of I go out and I meet with the client or the family or both, and we talk about what they think they need, and then we talk about what maybe if my assessment is much different than what they're telling me they think they need, we'll talk about that too somehow. But I don't believe in people being forced to pay for care that they don't need yet. And I think that, a lot of my clients I encounter, they're in their 70s and 80s. Chances are here in Florida, they're going to live to be in their 90s, maybe even 100. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see how it benefits us or them to walk in and enforce hourly minimums that they can't afford, or they may be able to afford temporarily, but at some point their money's going to run out.
Tracy, what you're saying is something I heard Joe talk about this on the radio years ago, and he was talking to somebody about this, and he said, most people in his experience, and I think it's probably still the same, most of us like to stay at home. It's not like we really have this desire. Not most of us say like, oh, I want to do this and I want to go to an assisted living. We've told our kids, put us in a place, it's like a cruise ship. We're good. It's no problem for us. But I know a lot of people are like, no, I want to stay at home. I like my home. This is where I feel comfortable. I like my surroundings. But the challenge is to do it safely. And Joe actually did like an analysis. He said, well, if you go to an assisted living, obviously there's going to be a little bit more expense because you're paying for the assisted part of the living. And then as you get older, you may need more care, right? So you might possibly find memory care or other things that are coming up, or maybe you're going to need some nursing care on top of that. And so he started back, he has this term, he calls it elements of care. And what he means by that is scaling the service that you need so it matches where you are at the right time. And so he always encourages people to start with the least element of care that lets you safely accomplish what you're trying to do. And I know this is what you're saying too, Tracy, but the point that I wanted to say is what he was talking about financially. That's the wise move, because you need to keep some of what you've got,
Sure,
in case you don't run into more stuff down the road. Talk a little bit about that.
Even someone who's getting care from us daily for an hour or two,
Yeah.
chances are in the future, hopefully, farther in the future than in the near future,
Right.
they're going to need more care. And what I find is that our agency is very willing. Our agents, we're very willing to be flexible and individual in the scheduling that we'll do for people. We have people who we see for 1 hour twice a day, 7 days a week. We have people who we see for 2 hours every other week. We have people who we see, who were in the home 24/7. It all depends on the care that the person needs, and it does depend on what they can afford. I mean, I've been in the Medicare home care world where, nurses and social workers will make comments about, well, they need more care than they need. Okay, I understand what they need. But if they can't afford it, we can sit here all day and talk about it.
Right.
And what you're going to do is you're going to end up making them apprehensive at getting any help. Yeah. So I feel like it's better to sort of meet some of these people halfway in between. There may be opportunities, if they're veterans, to look for money that can help pay for these kind of services. But at least we can explore those options, but still be taking care of them at the same time.
Yes.
But I mean, still, we've been around since 2017. We just talked about that.
5 years.
5 years for Avid.
Yeah.
We are not a corporate chain or franchise. We have absolutely no corporate support. We were started from the ground up. We're the only RN-owned agency in Brevard County, to my knowledge, and I think Nancy is the one that says that too. But I just think that it's the better way to do it. I think it's better to meet the people sort of where they are now, like you said, and then knowing that could change. One fall can make it change.
Oh yeah, you can hit some point.
You could be telling me this morning that you don't need more than an hour or two a day, and tomorrow it's like, I need 24/7 care, and that's hard. I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow. People don't want someone in their house 24/7, so. I find that it really is a skill.
Well, and not only that, I think you must be a great resource. We talked about this a lot, particularly during COVID times, because a lot of times, we get calls. Nancy will get calls all the time from like an adult child of a parent who's here in Florida, and maybe they're in, I don't know, just say they're in the Midwest or something, and they call down and they say, well, I saw Mom and I'm a little concerned. She's not doing as well as I thought she was. Every time I call on the phone, I'm fine. Yeah. and then when I get down here, I thought, well, this is a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be. And so I know how often out-of-state children look for help locally, good quality help, because that's why they're calling Nancy. They say, how do I find somebody? I don't even know. I'm
where
up
to
here.
Start.
I don't know where to start.
Right.
And so one of the things that you're talking about is creating that relationship over a period of time so you can shift in, like Joe was talking about, elements of care as it becomes.
Yeah.
And with your background as a registered nurse, I'm sure you can give some additional insight and say, hey, we're reaching a point where we
need to transition into this or that. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed that I have that experience, that I can help people navigate through that, because it's very upsetting. I mean, and even to bring up hospice, I find that's some people are floored when I drop the hospice word. And I'm like, okay, so just, relax for a minute, because we're not talking about end of life.
Right.
We're talking about resources that can partner with us, that can help give you support that I think you need, looking at what you're dealing with. So I think, and I mean, we got a call not that long ago at the office from a young lady who said to me, she said, I read your articles in the Merritt Island Now magazine. I see your ad. She said, my dad lives in Ohio, and I would love to find an agency for him up there. She asked, are we up there? I said, no. But I gave her some tips on what to look for and how to really be careful to know what to avoid, kind of red flags that you should definitely avoid that situation. So I'm very willing to One of my clients' sons said to me when I said I have to get out, he checked my eyes this morning, and I said I have to get down to Palm Bay, I have to be on the radio. And he says, "Oh, what do you do there?" I said, "I talk." He said, "Well, you like to do that, don't you?" Thanks, Dan. Yes, I do actually. But, it's...
Well, it's good, and you're a great resource. And to brag a little bit on Tracy, you need to know that she's an author. She's written a number of books on healthcare.
One book.
One book. But you've written a lot of articles. Cause
I write articles for every month, right?
Yeah.
For you, for Senior Scene, and for Merritt Island Now.
Yeah.
And there have been a couple other ones in the community that I wrote for too, but I just, I'm not just not doing that.
But let me see if I get this right. But you have background as an OR nurse, right?
So I started out actually as a surgical tech in the OR, which I did that for 9 years straight. 7 years, I was a materials coordinator for all the surgical services. I was actually mentored by a group of pathologists and did the cutting for their autopsies for 3 years because I wanted to be a pathologist. I didn't want to be a nurse. Then I went to nursing school, and I've worked in, as an RN, I've worked in psychiatric nursing. I worked as a transplant coordinator for Gift of Life in Philadelphia for 3 years. And then I burned out doing that and went into home care. And
but
that's where I've been ever
you've
since.
done, speaking of TV shows and radio, so just like with us, you've done some really good shows that I think are important. You talk about some areas a lot of people don't, like, you did a show, you call it the dirty D word, dementia. And so you look for that on the Helping Seniors website or our YouTube channel, Facebook. You also did one on senior mental health, which
Senior suicide, which even I was shocked when I did my research for the article at how prevalent it was in the senior community. I wasn't aware.
Yeah, and so this work that you do is not only important, with the education stuff that you do and the authoring and that kind of thing, but also that makes you, at least I think, a very good resource to families trying to, sort out what's the best path to take with a loved one. So if somebody wants to get in touch with Avid Home Care Services, what's the best way to do that?
Probably just to call us, 321-392-3400. If you call the office, normally the person you talk to first is my son, Jeff. And, he can answer a lot of questions about services and the kind of things that we can do and help with. If there are any other clinical questions or somebody wants to talk to me directly, it's simply just my son saying, hey, he'll send me a text, please call this person. They have questions about whatever, and I'll give them a call right away.
Yeah,
so.
And you've always been very generous with your time just to help a family out. So we're talking with Traci Graf, registered nurse with Avid Home Care, and this is what we're talking about. Don't do this on your own. Don't try. People sit there, Google stuff, and
No, don't. I like what I do. So just talk. Just call. Ask
but you know
questions.
what they say. If it's on the internet, it must be true, right? No, call somebody. Call
Dangerous.
somebody. Get the real truth. And this is one of the things that I'm going to talk also with Cristin Taylor, who is public adjuster at Coastal Claims. And I really didn't even know there was such a thing as public adjuster. It sounds very official. It sounds like you're out there working for the public, but you actually are working for the homeowner. And so in that case, we are the public.
Right.
Talk a little bit because I don't think people know that they can get help. They think, well, I've got my homeowner's insurance policy. I call my agent if something goes bad, and it'll all be taken care of. But then the insurance company might say, hold on there, Hoss, not so fast. And then, that's where it gets tricky.
Thanks, Kerry. As a public adjuster, we represent the homeowner when they have an insurance claim. And that is something that when you present a loss to the insurance company, you expect to be taken care of with a certain 5-star service. However, when the insurance company is looking at it, they're looking at, well, what parameters of the contract that you have with them are going to be met and what has not been met and where did you fail and where did you meet the bar. So therefore, there's a lot of hoops to jump through that puts homeowners in a somewhat adversarial position, and it makes them uncomfortable, or it might turn them away from seeking the indemnification or the repair money that they are rightly due. So I step in with them and act as their advocate. I make sure that their policy is followed and that the homeowner knows what their damages are worth. So in the end, once they start to actually talk money with the insurance company, that they have enough to complete their repairs, understanding that there's market conditions and certain unseen things that need to be prepared for. And I kind of wanted to touch on what you said with having your ducks in a row. I think if homeowners and seniors specifically are fortunate enough to still be in their homes and have home care there, one of the safety things that we need to be looking out for is, do they have a secure home? Do they have leaks that are aging the home improperly? Do they have roof damage that is causing a leak? I mean, that's typically going to be one of their biggest assets. And if they do at some point need further care, you want to have that home well taken care of. So any visitors in the home or the homeowners themselves need to present that damage to someone like me. I can look at the damage and let them know if they have a claim. I can look at their policy and let them know if they have coverage. I can help them out through that whole process. And I think that's where I found with some of the seniors in their homes, they've just completely misunderstood what they were owed, misunderstood what the damage was. And I had a woman, and I've talked to you about it before, she accepted a small amount of money from the insurance company, thought it was okay, tried to make do with the money that she was given, and then had to hire a somewhat irreputable young man, and then he kind of ripped her off. And once I got in, I was able to get her, double what she started with. Also, she found out that she had toxic mold syndrome in her lungs.
Right. Oh no!
And they did not eradicate the mold, so my intervention in there was like, well, let's get this mold out. And it was a very successful story, but it was almost a year since she first opened the claim to get to the solution. And we didn't take that long, but I think just the mold alone not being addressed was a real breach of the contract with the homeowner, which she would not know without some guidance.
Can I ask a question of Cristin?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
please.
what do your services cost?
That's a great question. Thank you. I do not charge the homeowner unless I have a good resolution for them. And then we take a percentage of the claim, which is typically 20%. That is making sure that we talk all the settlement with the homeowner to make sure that they know what they're going to have to pay for. I mean, not all public adjusters do this, but typically I have been where, like, let's get a quote here, let's get a quote here, let's make sure we have everything properly aligned so when you do get the money. So let's, on a $10,000 claim, 20% of that would go to myself and my company, and that's for all the services we provide. And if there's no recovery, which I can proudly say at every person I've represented, there has been a good recovery. Good. So therefore, I like to say I have a 100% success rate in helping out the homeowners.
Good.
Yeah, and I was going to add in there because the problem is, again, it's this thing, don't try this on your own. When they send you an insurance policy in the mail, they send you these renewals, and it's like on this wafer-thin paper, and it's like a phone book by itself in size, and then it has all these, columns, excludes this, and then all these things. And even, Cristin, you've written articles in the Helping Seniors newsletter where you were giving us some tips to look for in your homeowner's policy, because you said, like, a lot of times if you've had your policy for a while, they may change something in there. And I think I remember vaguely it had to do with water damages and things like that. I may not have it right. You can straighten me out on it. But the point was, you may not even be aware that these changes are nibbling away at your coverage. And so she was saying, like, here's some tips. Go back and make sure what's going on here. Talk a little bit about that.
And I'm going to address that. But one misconception that a lot of homeowners have is that deductible, which is usually about $1,000 to $2,500, is something that has to come out of their pocket in order to start repairs. Usually that's an amount that's held back from the payout. So if you have a decent-sized deductible and you're concerned about making a claim because you don't have that $2,500 in your account, that's not going to keep you from being able to complete the repairs. You might have to work out a payment plan if that money isn't paid out or covered in some other way. But it shouldn't be a deterrent. The one thing that I had mentioned in the article before is that water damage limits. So when your home starts to age, as we are always doing, they often put in a water limit. Water is one of the major causes of damage in a home. That water limit can be as insignificant as $10,000. So let's say you have a leaky dishwasher and you found out it damaged all your wood floors, or even your tile. It can damage your tile, your cabinets, your which have to be replaced, your wood cabinets. I mean, that can eat up $10,000 just in the repairs, but the tear out alone or the mold mitigation, all of those things can eat up money. So it could be just as simple as a sentence within the policy that discloses that, which we may not even notice because we just file it away or we put it aside, and that ends up costing you money if you're not aware of that.
You know, and this is the thing is like, as I say, you're going up against a really expert. It's not even a fair comparison, right? You're the homeowner that's just trying to figure out how to fix a certain situation that's come up, and they've got the whole battalion of all these quote experts. The problem is they're not experts on your side. They're experts. And I'm not saying the insurance company is not trying to be fair, but they're not going to offer, if they don't have to. And so when you have somebody who's advocating for your side, first of all, Cristin, you'll shoot them straight. I mean, you'll say like, this is what it is what it is, but at least you're looking at it from the homeowner's side, right?
Definitely. I mean, you can't change the contract that they have. The contract is the contract, so you have to advise the client of where those loopholes are. But there's also other places within that contract that allow us to figure something else out, so the homeowner isn't left with a bad situation.
Yeah, I like what you said about being having been really fortunate to be able to help everybody that you've come in contact with, and I would imagine, particularly with seniors who've had homes for quite a while and probably just left it with the same agent or the same insurance company, we may not even be aware things have changed, and then something comes along and we're trying to figure out how to solve it, and we're getting pushback from the insurance company, but we don't even know if we're on solid ground when we're saying, no, this is something you're supposed to help us with or not. And that's really where you can make the difference. How if somebody wants to get, because again, you're not paying up front to get your expertise. It's kind of like with Tracy. Like, I think if you call Tracy and say, hey, I'm thinking about trying to get some home care, it's not going to cost them to sit down and explore what all the options are. It's not going to cost them up front to sit down and say, here's what I'm facing. How do people get in touch with you, Cristin Taylor, Coastal Claims?
Yes, and just to be clear, I've had people call me and I've said, no, I think you've gotten a good settlement, so I don't think you need me. But if you do need me and you want to call me before you call that agent, it's a great idea to call me, because sometimes you just making that call to your agent puts a claim on your record. So let me review it with you first. You can call me at 321-537-9180. You can look at our website at coastalclaims.net, and I'm Cristin, Cristin, at coastalclaims.net, 321-537-9180.
All right. Well, that's about it for today's Helping Seniors radio show. Thank you, Traci Graf, registered nurse, Avid Home Care Services, and Cristin Taylor, public adjuster, Coastal Claims. And we are now on our way to get set up for Konnect Kia, so we will look forward to seeing you this afternoon. Boniface hires Kia, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for Konnect Kia, all supporting the work of Helping Seniors and the car raffle. So we will see you right here back on the radio Wednesday next week, 12 noon, WEJF. Have a great week till then. On behalf of Joe Steckler, Nancy Deerdorf, and our team, we'll see you soon.